You're looking a little blue.
It's really not all that funny. Do you have to be documenting this?
Well, how else can I get views? Oh, stop overreacting.
Well, since the UFC is in Milwaukee, Hector thought it'd be funny to just... You tell them your pun.
Well, I thought since it was Milwaukee, it would be funny to see you Milwaukee way around town.
Very funny, you ugly...
Did you bring everything to set up?
Yes! I got everything. I got the table, the tablecloth, your plant, the slave driver that looks like a talking penis. I have it all.
Set up your table.
Okay, I'll set up. We're back, as Hector mentioned, because this Saturday we have another set of free fights. Thank you, UFC gods. Well, not for me, for the people that could actually watch them. As you saw in the beginning, I did a big hike. Turns out I'm getting too mouthy for my mouth to handle. So Hector punished me and he made me walk 100 miles. It's pretty cool. I think my calves are way more defined.
Okay.
They are. Trust me. You want to see this flex? High def. And we're just gonna dig right into this because we have three very important fights in their respective division. First off, we're gonna start off with baby Pettis. Sergio Pettis is going up against Rob Font. Now, first things first, Rob Font's a bantamweight, and we have the flyweight in Sergio Pettis. But Sergio Pettis said, hey man, if I do a few more push-ups a day, eat a few more sets of carbohydrates, then maybe I can move up in weight and see how I do there. Truth be told, I think he's just running away from the 125 division because he's kind of expedited all his talent there, and he hasn't found much success. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Bonnie can be mine.
No, Bonnie is not a real bride. She's plastic.
You have some nerve.
I could poke her and she would die. But he is going up against a very hard hitter in Rob Font. So let's just start with Sergio Pettis right from the get-go. Sergio Pettis has had over 10 fights in the UFC. He is without a doubt known for his decision. He is the decision fighter. Doesn't mean he's boring. It just means he has a really good cardio tank. He can go 15 minutes and I'm sure he can go 25 minutes too. If proven to be the case, him earning a title shot in the near future, which at this point in time, I highly doubt. His last loss is coming off Jussier Formiga, but before that, beating previous title holder from WEC and title contender in the UFC in Joseph Benavidez. And of course, before that, he only lost in decision by Henry Cejudo, which is now the current reigning flyweight champion of the UFC division. Yes, he's a very good striker. Is he deadly with his power? Not so much, but he has amazing wrestling, and like I said before, he has an amazing gas tank. Styles make fights. Can he make fights in this one? We're gonna find out real soon, because Rob Font could find himself in a world of crazy shit. Because he is not a wrestler. He's got good submissions, as we've noticed for those two back-to-back submissions against Pedro Munoz and Douglas Silva de Andrade. But notably, as you look on his record, he does love to go for that knockout a lot more, and he does bear significant power in those hands. He has very rarely faced decision, and every time he's been a decision, especially in the UFC, he has faced defeat both times. But his last decision loss is coming against Rafael Sanson, which is a huge title contender in this 135 division. Now, what's going to happen in this fight? Well, I'm just going to break it down. I'm going to break it down real easy for you. I think Sergio Pettis is going to put the pedal to the metal and just press so much pressure against Rob Font. Pressure that Rob Font is not used to fighting. Rob Font is not used to fighting these top-tier guys other than Rafael Sanson. Oh, and what happened? He f***ing lost.
You're losing in life.
Yeah, I'm losing every day. It's obvious. Sergio Pettis is going to set him up with those shots just to show him that maybe, hey man, maybe I will engage in that striking game, but he's not at all. He's going to get close, probably play that clinch game, push him against the fence, a little bit of dirty boxing, but try to take him down and advance positions on the ground. Is he going to get the submission against Rob Font? I don't think so. If anybody's going to get the submission in this fight, it will be Sergio Pettis, but I don't think he just has it in him to have that finishing capability, at least thus far. So I do think it's going to decision, and I do think we see Sergio Pettis get his hand raised. He is just too tenacious and too well-rounded on the ground, especially for someone like Rob Font to handle. Now, we are going to go up to the lightweight division, where we see the return of probably the nastiest kicker and the one that holds the nastiest head kick knockout in all of MMA in Edson Barboza. He's going to try to get back in the win column as he faces New Zealand's own Dan the Hooker.
Do you mean like he's a prostitute in these streets?
I mean hooker.
So he's a hosebag.
I'm very sure he doesn't sell his body. Well, technically he does, because he makes money off of fighting in the octagon, rubbing his oily body against other men. So I kind of see your point. To To be honest, I wish I was New Zealand right now, because if we had a camera that could handle those high pixelations and we zoomed in on my hands, you could see that's not my average shade of Caucasianism, but more or less the fucking pink Power Ranger, but hotter. I'm just kidding, Kimberly. You were pretty hot back in the day. Edson Barboza has had a rough stint in his last 2 fights, both devastating beatings, but however, it should be noted that the first loss he lost to was against current lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov and grappling guru and literally of all of MMA. But then shortly after that, he went up against arguably the next best grappler in all of the lightweight division in Kevin Lee. Before that, it was undoubtedly known that everybody was scared to go up against Edson Barboza and just face those nasty kicks that he's had, those nasty leg kicks, the body kicks, the head kicks. He is so versatile when it comes to his striking with his kicks. But his weakness is definitely his grappling. He's fantastic on the ground in jiu-jitsu, but the thing is, when he is trying to defend against a takedown, it's not something that he has been very successful at least in his last 2 fights, but once again, going up against the best of the best. His last 3 wins prior to those last 2 losses are going against Beneil Dariush, Gilbert Melendez, fantastic wrestler, and of course, Anthony Showtime Pettis. So he knows how to win. This is the fight crafted for Edson Barboza to, in fact, jump back into that win column. Why? Because he's going against Dan the Prostitute.
Not his name.
Right, Hooker. Dan Hooker's on a fantastic 4-fight win streak, with his last win coming off a very tough Gilbert Burns. And let's face facts here, he is a knockout artist, and that's why I think this fight is going to be real fun for Edson Barboza, because he's going to bring the exact fight for what Edson Barboza actually hopes this motherfucker is going to be bringing. Is he going to regret it in the future? I don't know, but we're gonna find out real soon. Dan Hooker loves to get in there and swing for the fences. So do all these guys from New Zealand and Australia. They don't have any boring fights available in them. They have that kill or be killed attitude. But your punches are what bear most of those knockout abilities. Let's not talk about the knockout that you had against Hatsuhioki way back when, and of course that knee knockout against Ross Pearson. Edson Barboza knows how to knock you out with every part of his body. Look at your tapes when you're watching him spin kick Terry Edom to death. So I think Edson Barboza is going to this fight being real excited, especially fighting another striker across the octagon. This is exactly the fight that he wants. What's going to happen is Dan Hooker's going to go in there exactly like Dan Hooker likes to do and put the pressure on immediately. But this is something Edson Barboza is going to have a lot of fun with. I think Edson Barboza is really going to utilize those leg kicks, utilize those spinning back kicks to keep that distance, to keep it separate. I think it will be a scrap that will lead into the second round. The reason I say that, normally I would say Edson Barboza is going to take this out in the first round, but Edson Barboza, I think, will be a little hesitant. He doesn't want to lose 3 in a row. Who the wants to lose 3 in a row?
You do.
Well, technically, I've been doing this for like 8 weeks now, so I've lost like 8 in a row, idiot. Once Edson Barboza really starts to figure out that range, really figure out that distance between him and Dan Hooker, he is really going to start to put the pressure on, maybe even take it to the ground, throw Dan Hooker completely off his game, because as I said before, Edson Barboza can fight on the ground, and he has nasty ground and pound. And when it comes to that second round, when that bell rings, they're going out there my ficus! Edson Barboza is going to go out there with so much more confidence and catch Dan Hooker right off his game, baby rubber him, take him to the ground, and just ground and pound him to an absolute oblivion, because we know Dan Hooker's not going to try to make this wrestling match, because Dan Hooker, knock.
Who's there?
No, it's for Dan Hooker, not for you. Who's there? Not your wrestling game. So now we're going to go to the very important main event. And the reason why I like both of these guys, well, I'll tell you in a second. But first off, we have Kevin Lee going up against the real estate agent, Iaquinta. Now, the reason why I say real estate agent, first of all, it's a damn fact, but I wanted to make it known because Conor McGregor, a member from my favorite camp, not made fun of Iaquinta, saying, ha, you're a real estate agent, Khabib couldn't even take you out, couldn't finish you. But what happened when Conor McGregor, the MMA fighter, the greatest of all time, went up against Khabib and he was tapping more than the Interact tap machines during Christmas season. Now, he is going up against Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee's also another funny one, another guy that I like because he also has beef with the SBG camp. Dylan Dennis called him out for another grappling match, and Motown phenom Kevin Lee said, absolutely, let's do it. But then Dylan Dennis ran into a hole. They're not even on the card, so them, but we have Iaquinta, who is clearly a slugger. He is relentless, as we saw in that fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov. Kevin Lee is an indestructible wrestler, as we saw in his last fight against Edson Barboza. Kevin Lee, as well, should be noted, wore a spin kick to the face. Kevin Lee can take a damn shot. And really, when we look at the game of Iaquinta, that's kind of all he got. I know he trains with the Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and Matt Serra, but this is a tool that he doesn't utilize. And to be honest, my opinion is you put the best wrestler against the best Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, and the Jiu-Jitsu practitioner doesn't stand a fucking chance. Kevin Lee's fought some tough guys. I mean, other than Edson Barboza, he obviously lost the current #1 title contender in the lightweight division in Tony Ferguson. But the guys he beat, you know, Michael Chiesa, pretty respectable. Efren Escudera, bitch, please. Francisco Trinaldo, bitch, please. Like, come on, these names aren't really a big deal. And then we go over to Iaquinta. Iaquinta's already fought the best of the best. Look at his last previous wins. Joe Lozon, Diego Sanchez, Jorge Masvidal, and Ross Pearson. The greatest thing to know for this fight as well is a lot of people are thinking Iaquinta doesn't have a chance in hell against Kevin Lee. And while Kevin Lee might run right through him, and I'll tell you my prediction in just a second, they have fought a previous time before where Iaquinta was, yes, in fact he was, the winner of that fight by unanimous decision. Is cardio going to be an issue for either of these guys? Absolutely not. They both have heart of lions. But I think Kevin Lee has matured completely as a fighter, and he does have far more experience, especially being the more active fighter in the recent years over Iaquinta. Iaquinta went in that stint where he wasn't sure if he was going to be in the UFC or not because he had a little bit of troubles and beef with the president, Dana White. I think Kevin Lee is going to be able to utilize his wrestling and his maturity, the way he's evolved as a fighter. I do think he's going to come out on top. This is going to be 25 minutes of hell. I very highly doubt it will be finished. Both of these guys can take a nasty shot. No one's going to be pulling off crazy submissions because they're both sluggers. Even Kevin Lee utilizing his wrestling, he wants to take it to the ground and just beat the living hell out of you, which I think is kind of what he is going to do here. And that is my wrap up for UFC Fight Night for this week. So if you're not watching it, once again, you are a stupid fucking moron because they are free. So I suggest if you're in Milwaukee, buy tickets and go watch the damn fight. Dana White, you owe me money for promoting your business. Don't miss this. It's not a fight you want to miss. I'm getting the hell out of here because I am absolutely frozen. And Hector said it's...
What did I say?
Yeah, it's dinner time, right?
Fresh corn.
Awesome. So I'm going to wrap up. Yeah, I'm just going to go. So see you guys.
Better pack up because you'll be damned if I'm helping.
I have to carry it back. I have to carry this back.
Did I stutter?
You're insane. Oh, fine. Bye, guys. Love you so much. And I will see you next Wednesday. Peace the